Marvel has just revealed the origins of the X-Men's newest villain, Mutina, and she may very well be the mutant hero's most challenging adversary yet. I'm Andrew the Geek Master, and in today's video we're going to break down everything that happened in Uncanny X-Men number 17. Just a reminder, the Uncanny X-Men are a team currently led by Rogue and composed of Gambit, Wolverine, Nightcrawler, and Jubilee. At the moment, they're living in Louisiana and mentoring a group of young mutants nicknamed the Outliers. The story begins with something unsettling that was about to escalate tensions between humans and mutants even further. Kitty Pryde contacted the X-Men to check if everyone was aware of the current situation. The answer was yes. The controversy was already dominating news outlets, social media, and influencers were fanning the flames. The issue at hand was the upcoming release of a new movie called Mutina, which told the story of a mutant serial killer triggered by the Terrigen Mists, a distortion that infuriated the mutant community. Even though it was labeled as mere entertainment, the film was arriving at a critical time, adding fuel to the growing intolerance against mutants. Kitty Pryde was outraged by the widespread ignorance. She knew the X gene couldn't be activated by the Terrigen Mists, but that didn't matter to most people. Theaters were already packed, tickets were sold out, and Scott got straight to the point by saying this would be disastrous. Meanwhile, the studios defended the movie as fictional art. Various public reactions added to the debate. Blade expressed anger over the portrayal of mutants as monsters, and although one screenwriter emphasized that mutants were more often victims than threats, Magic made it very clear to a reporter that she wanted nothing to do with that microphone. The controversy even divided the X-Men themselves. Nightcrawler, for instance, didn't see much of a problem with the film, suggesting it might flop despite optimistic box office projections. Director Elliot Spence simply asked the public to give the film a chance, describing it as a revenge story with pro-mutant undertones, even though the word mutant was never explicitly used. Rogue, however, considered the movie dangerous and went as far as forbidding the Outliers, the young mutants, from leaving the house for a few days. But the teens at the Institute, true to their rebellious nature, ignored the warning. Ransom, Jitter, Calico, and Death Dream hacked the system and got tickets for the premiere. Becca was already terrified before the film even began. The trailers alone had her on edge. Hotoru, on the other hand, would have preferred to watch a different movie, thinking even an animated lobster might have had deeper messages. Either way, the screening began in classic slasher fashion. A teenage girl named Brenda was swimming alone at her school late at night when suddenly, all the lights went out. As if that weren't enough, she was ambushed by Mutina, who drew her blood-red blades and lunged at the girl. The script revealed that Brenda and her classmates had turned the young killer into a school outcast, humiliating her until she finally decided to take revenge in the worst possible way. That night, Brenda's father found his daughter's body along with a disturbing message written in her own blood. Mutina claimed Brenda was a bully. Barely 10 minutes into the movie, Becca was already hiding with a bucket of popcorn on her head. Death Dream, bored, had fallen asleep, while Jitter and Ransom were the only ones who actually managed to enjoy the screening. After the movie, the group headed to a diner, trying to process what they had just seen. The lighthearted mood quickly shifted when Becca revealed that she had never been to a movie theater before and felt deeply shaken by the way mutants were portrayed. She even wondered aloud whether they really were monsters. Hotoru showed surprising maturity by explaining that this was just another way to twist public perception, always showcasing the worst in mutants until the world believed it. Ransom responded with empathy and gave his friend a hug, who made sure to point out that he didn't like hugs. Then, like a reflection of the film itself, a group of stereotypical bullies showed up to provoke them, asking if they were just a bunch of random losers or toxic mutants. The situation escalated quickly when Death Dream materialized the spirit of the group's late leader's father, a terrifying man both in life and in death. Calico, stunned, felt like she was inside the movie itself and started to wonder if maybe, just maybe, they really were monsters. On the way back, Jitter seemed disturbed by something she wouldn't reveal until later. Ransom was still thinking about Hotoru's words, realizing that even if it was just a movie, there really was a deeper message hidden in there. At the entrance, they were greeted by their sentinel dog, Waffles, while Becca trembled at the thought of the scolding Rogue would give them. After all, they had stolen a car, eaten way too much popcorn, and watched a movie they thought was terrible. But to everyone's surprise, Rogue wasn't too harsh, and the kids went to bed in peace. The next morning, Jitter woke up and found Becca sleeping on her bedroom floor, haunted by nightmares of Mutina. But it was time to go back to school, a place where hostility was already expected for the new mutants. Jitter's locker had been vandalized with insults calling her Mutina. Yet in the middle of all that hostility, an unexpected gesture happened. Tommy, a wealthy kid at school, showed up to help her, even bringing cleaning supplies. Having been bullied himself when he was younger, he understood how the mutants must feel. But Becca acted too quickly. Sensing Tommy approaching, she summoned her horse Ember, with whom she shares a strong psychic bond, transforming into a kind of infernal Valkyrie and charging at the boy. That earned both girls a 3-day suspension, and although Gambit was angry, he stepped into the dad role and took them out for ice cream. With a few days off, Jitter had an idea. Using her stealth skills, she planned to sneak into the city and attend a press conference to confront the actress who played Mutina. She intended to go alone, but Becca surprised her midway through the mission, now with an almost divine appearance. Together, they were about to face something bigger. The mysterious actress, Letitia Leach, wasn't scared when the girls arrived. On the contrary, she seemed very pleased. Jitter had discovered that Letitia maintained a blog on the deep web filled with hate against mutants. In every city she visited, the same pattern emerged. Break-ins in her dressing room and violent reactions that only reinforced her narrative of self-preservation. In other words, Jitter and Calico's presence would be used to justify yet another media attack against mutants. At this point, Letitia was already fully dressed as Mutina, which triggered a fight between them. Calico couldn't summon Ember's powers because he hated knives, so Jitter had to use her abilities to replicate Iron Fist's skills, but only for 1 minute. Even so, the mutants remained at a disadvantage, and it really looked like they might die. That's when, out of nowhere, the Uncanny X-Men appeared. They had been tracking the kids' disappearance, and using the Eye of Agamotto, they followed the trail straight to that very spot. Jubilee lit up the scene and brought the short battle to an end. But this is when we learned that Letitia wasn't just any ordinary woman. She displayed telepathic powers by mentioning the exact flavor of ice cream Jitter had eaten hours earlier, suggesting she might be a mutant too. With that, the group made their exit, but not before Wolverine gave the girl a warning. If she ever came near the kids again, he'd show her what a real horror movie looked like. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you want to keep exploring the wild, thrilling, and sometimes absurd world of the X-Men with us, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and until our next adventure.